Speaking of Samoa Joe, I believe he was talking to Fightful, or I'm not sure exactly who he was talking to, but he gave his thoughts on Brawl Out, or not Brawl Out, Brawl In with CM Punk and Jack Perry. He said it just wasn't that big of a deal to him, and this stuff is normal. Probably hit that subscribe button. I'm gonna give you about 5 seconds to hit that subscribe button, because if you don't hit that subscribe button, I'm gonna be under your bed tonight, man. So I'm gonna give you 5 seconds. What he said, Samoa Joe is a cool dude. You could tell that Samoa Joe has seen a few fights in his day, whether he was a kid, whether he was in ROH, probably even in WWE. It's not that big of a deal. I remember seeing the picture of him, CM Punk, and a few refs taking a picture after their match. It was obviously after the match because CM Punk still had blood on his face. And yeah, it's not that big of a deal because things like that happen all the time in all kinds of workspaces and all kinds it happens. Even Tony Khan himself has said, I watched back, I believe even before the first Dynamite, there was a fight at a bar with all the wrestlers were there, and Tony Khan just said it wasn't even that big of a deal. So I don't believe that Tony Khan hasn't seen a fight before. I think Tony Khan was, this is lawyer talk, the whole I was in fear for my life thing, the whole fire with cause thing. I believe it was lawyer talk. I believe it was what he needed to say to get out of that contract, because CM Punk was obviously done with the company. They lost CM Punk. They wore him out, that with the unprofessionalism and the Young Bucks not wanting to meet him, and Hangman and Page never being punished, and all this and that, and then having to be the one to check Jack Perry. It was just all kinds of ridiculous. But even before Collision was even thought of, CM Punk was backstage at WWE making amends with Triple H and The Miz. So, they obviously had no choice but to let CM Punk go. Even Bryan Danielson has said it himself. He was like, it was obvious the guy just didn't want to be there anymore. So, you got to let him go. But at the same time, it's not like he didn't want to be there at first. People forget the first 9 months of CM Punk in the AEW was amazing. It's the best 9 months in AEW history. It just seemed like they were hitting on all cylinders, but CM Punk was the main catalyst. Like, he wasn't even just the cherry on top. He was the main catalyst. And I guess when something is so great up top, it makes everything else seem great, because I just remember those 9 months of AEW just fondly, whether it was Britt Baker, I almost said Sting, Darby Allin, Ruby Soho, not so Adam Cole, but things were great. Things were great at the time, and for those 9 months, it was amazing. But it soured as soon as that the Hangman Adam Page promo. And, I don't think it was necessarily the promo. I think it was the fact that nothing happened towards Hangman Adam Page after that. So you broke CM Punk. You broke CM Punk, and what happened. It is what it is, but it wasn't that big of a deal. And I think it's a false narrative that Tony Khan was in fear for his life, and he hasn't necessarily seen fights. Like, this man owns a football team. He owns 2 football teams, one American football and the other. So this man has seen fights before. He's seen fights in AEW before. I'm sure he wasn't in fear for his life, but he has to say it to make firing CM Punk not necessarily credible, but protect himself from being sued. And it's nasty. I still feel it's nasty the way they did CM Punk. And if it was up to Samoa Joe, he would have still been there. And this kind of confirms how I feel about Samoa Joe. Like, I feel like he can be their Undertaker. I could feel like he could be their locker room leader. And him having a title just gives weight to that. And I don't know how long Samoa Joe has as in wrestling, but it feels like, whether it's on screen, behind the scenes, he'll have something to do with wrestling for as long as he wants to. And the same with Undertaker. And I believe he can be that backstage presence, that backstage leader, that backstage, parent. If I believe if they had a set one, a lot of these problems in AEW would not be, so prevalent. Now, I'm not saying that they need to. Now, I'm not saying they need to have a wrestler's court, no toxic ass wrestler's court, but having a backstage, a leader, a locker room leader, as they would say, CM Punk would say, would help a lot, and it would solve a lot of the problems. And I think it would. Samoa Joe is definitely the perfect candidate to do so. And that's that.